Brace yourselves as the planet of action Mars stations retrograde on Friday, December 6th. And until February 23rd, we will struggle expressing our ambition, deal with a lot of delays and a lot of passive-aggressive energy. I'm here to guide you through this frustrating transit and break it down for all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal, relationship, and predictive readings. Thank you for being here, and if you're new, welcome to my channel. If you want to show your support, please leave me a like, a comment, subscribe, and press that notification bell. Watch more of my content. I've been putting out more videos, more general videos lately about your past life, about your planets and relationships. And you can also say thank you by buying me a coffee, a tea, a croissant, any support that you guys send me, even if it's just a comment or a happy thought, is really appreciated. Before we dive in, you can book a reading with me and work with me one-on-one at anastasiadoesastrology.com. I am currently running a 2025 year ahead special. You can save $20 on the in-person consultation with the code 2025, it's down below, or save $40 and get a recorded reading in the shop section of my website. Take advantage of that deal, get yourself ready, prepared for the year to come. Not only Mars is going retrograde, Venus is going to go retrograde early in 2025. We're going to have Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus dipping into new signs. A lot is coming up. Additionally, on my website, you can find a variety of products I create with a lot of attention, very Virgo attention to detail. For example, my 2025 astrology planner encompasses the entire year, breaks it down, gives you lunar phases, lunar signs, journaling prompts, best dates for relationships, challenging dates, lucky dates. It's a great gift as well. And on my website, you can find a variety of candles and oils and even bracelets I make to help us deal with difficult transits and help us improve on the natal energies that are maybe a little bit more complicated. With this video, I'd like to highlight my Exalted Mars candle. We are about to deal with Mars retrograde, and Mars retrograde is like carrying a really hot cup of coffee. You can't act fast, you have to be slow. If you do something sudden, you may burn yourself, you may hurt other people. So Exalted Mars is Mars in Capricorn. It's very strategic. It's really good at figuring out when to take action, when to back off. It can bless you with confidence, perseverance, courage, and success, and help you navigate the more difficult passive-aggressive ups and downs, energetic changes that are often symbolic of the retrograde. So find it on my website. So let's talk about Mars retrograde. In general, Mars is the planet of action, ambition, and desire. And when Mars is going retrograde, it suggests that you are rethinking your anger, your ambitions, and desires. And for some reason, be that your own doubt or external circumstances, you're feeling forced to take a step back. Your action gets thwarted. Your initiative is limited. Your energy is down. You're dealing with blockages, delays, restrictions. And oftentimes, every single retrograde is actually the time for us to get closer with what is truly driving us and what is truly motivating us. It's this cosmic red light that is here to teach you to direct your energy with more thought. So this retrograde lasts, like I said, between December 6th and February 23rd, but is broken into two parts. Between December 6th and January 6th, the retrograde is in Leo, from 6 degrees to 0 degrees Leo. So it will affect the most people with planets between 0 and up to 9 degrees fixed signs. That will be, of course, Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio, or Taurus. And then from January 6th until February 23rd, we have the retrograde in Cancer. And that will arguably be the harder part of the retrograde because that is Mars in its fall. So once again, highly, highly recommend my Exalted Mars or Mars Cazimi candles for that phase of the retrograde or in general. And in Cancer, Mars will move from 29 to 17 degrees Cancer. So here you will feel it the most if you have planets between 14 and 29 degrees cardinal signs, which are Cancer, Capricorn, Aries, and Libra. And a lot will depend on the nature of the planet. Mars will be aspecting. If it's aspecting your Venus, perhaps you're having to balance your romantic, people-pleasing, charming, agreeable energy with more assertive energy. You need to examine where you're, prioritizing pleasure and love too much, or where you're not prioritizing it enough. And if if you want me to look at your chart, you can always book a reading and we can analyze it more specifically. But it is the time when things are slowing down, right? You're thinking before acting. Something is happening in your life internally or externally that creates delays, like I mentioned already, something that is forcing you to rethink, review. It can also be the time when your negative tendencies like obsessive thoughts, anger, violence, or like even past wounds that you haven't addressed are coming to light and you have to deal with them. It might be helpful to remember the cycle of Mars, right? When Mars conjoins the Sun, it's in its Cazimi phase and it's the newborn Mars. It's the Mars that has just received the message of the Sun and it's clean and pure and it's like it's focused on doing good deeds. It's like the soldier that is being sent on a mission by the king, and it's innocent on some level. It's driven. It's kind of positive version of Mars. When Mars is retrograde, it's that same soldier that has seen so much and it's gotten disappointed and it's seen death and it maybe no longer feels connected to the mission that the sun has sent it on. So similarly, whatever you have been working on, you may realize that there is less excitement there. And it doesn't mean that you're meant to abandon your mission, but maybe there is something that you need to revisit. And sometimes that requires processing the pain, that requires learning to deal with anger and your dark feelings a little bit more. So beware of this struggle to express frustration and trying to find ways, healthy outlets, right? Passion projects, sex, volunteering, physical labor, martial arts, anything that allows you to process your sort of physical stagnant energy. And of course, if you need to process wounds, do not hesitate to reach out to a therapist. Do not expect, the retrograde phase to just give you answers. Sometimes you need to ask for help. By the time Mars goes direct, you will process a lot of this and will have more understanding of self, integrating the challenges and being ready to take action and move forward. Some of the important dates to note in this retrograde cycle: December 12th, Venus will oppose Mars. This is tensions between masculine and feminine, getting along with people, standing apart, men and women, your desire to desire to be at home and having your partner take care of everything versus your partner maybe not wanting to do that, or vice versa. Tensions between, sort of conflicts are quite likely. January 3rd, 4 days before, 4 days after, Mars will oppose Pluto. And we've already had Mars opposite Pluto in early November. Take a look back at what this brought for you, and then we're going to have, this one is January 3rd, and then there's going to be one more on April 26th. This one is to watch out for. Mars with this, it's in Leo, it's very ego-driven, there is like strong sense of self, and in opposition to Pluto, there might be some kind of power struggles, there might be battles, powerful enemies, a sense of some kind of competition, obsession, darkness that is coming up around this transit. And of course, you have to be patient. You have to be kind of careful and maybe take a step back instead of pushing your agenda, pushing things forward. It's not a good time to force things. On January 6th, Mars returns to Cancer. On the 12th of January, it will trine Neptune, which could be the time when there is a little bit of inspiration and maybe alleviation of some of the stress. Mars trine Neptune might be a beautiful song or communal gathering or a prayer, like something that makes you feel like yoga, something that makes you feel connected and like things will work out. January 15th is the half point of the retrograde, and that is Sun opposite Mars, which is literally that like ideal image of the sun and that initial mission versus what's happening right now, the disappointment in the world, the struggle to get things right, and a lot of outbursts, internal frustrations, external conflicts and drama is quite likely at the time, but it's also the middle point, which means that from now on things will start to pick up. And in fact they do, because from then onwards Mars is mostly making harmonious aspects. Worth noting, January 23rd there's a sextile to Uranus. Excitement, positive energy that helps you take action, maybe helps you problem solve. January 25th, Venus trines Mars. So now we have a positive connection between Venus and Mars. The Aphrodite and Aries had a fight, and now they're coming together, making love, and people are getting along. February 9th, Mars trines Saturn, and there's a bit of a constructive, productive, hardworking, patient, persevering energy here. And finally, on February 23rd, Mars goes direct. So, lots to keep in mind. A lot of patience required, a lot of grace for yourself and for other people. And you will get through it. Things will work out. Just beware and be extra mindful of how you do things, how you say things, how you take action, because a lot of times what the world gives us is a reflection of what we put out. So if there is ever time to be mindful of that, that is Mars going retrograde. And we're going to break it down for all 12 zodiac signs. As always, if you feel like this general reading is not enough for you, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com and take advantage of my year ahead special and save on the 2025 reading. Starting with Aries rising. If you are in Aries rising, Mars is retrograding from your 5th house into the 4th. And this can bring up two separate matters, right? When Mars is retrograding in the 5th, the first month, you feel uninspired. You feel a lack of fun, a lack of play. You're dealing with some romantic issues, maybe feeling somehow like impotent, or like, there's hasn't been sex in your life for a while and it feels like there is no hope, right? Things just feel dark. Maybe an ex comes back into your life. Maybe you're just feeling so bogged down that there is no joy, there is no fun. Things feel just sort of like the grind and work or children and like, no romance. And when Mars goes into the 4th house, you're maybe dealing, so from January 6th until February 23rd, there might be some home matters that require your attention, where you're dealing with a home renovation project being stagnant, or you're dealing with conflicts with family members, maybe feeling unhappy with where you live. And I sort of like looking at these two halves of the retrograde together, right? If we're looking at Mars moving from your 5th into the 4th house, and it starts with you feeling a lack of inspiration, with you not being happy with what's happening in your love life, or struggling to find light in maybe being a very involved parent, just feeling like things are difficult, right? And then Mars goes into your 4th house. I think there is an invitation here to find ways to bring fun to your home, to bring fun to your immediate environment, to maybe heal some childhood wounds and examine the past and find ways to reconnect with yourself, right? Sometimes we focus on what's happening externally too much instead of focusing on what's happening internally and what we need to heal and fix with ourselves, because then things might improve. And it might be, it might literally be when it's moving from the 5th into the 4th that you're realizing that you need a bigger home, that your family is growing and your current home is just not letting you all have enough space to kind of enjoy life. This could also be about looking back at your childhood passions and your interests and things that used to inspire you when you were a kid, and maybe bringing more of that into your life. If you're looking for personal guidance, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com and pick up my Exalted Mars candle to help deal with this frustrating retrograde energy. For the lovely Taurus rising, Mars is retrograding from your 4th into your 3rd house. And there could be 2 separate matters. The first month of the retrograde, you're dealing with home issues. Maybe you've been working on this home improvement project and it stops. Or you've been actively trying to help your parents find a new home and something slows down. Or there is some kind of disagreement, misunderstanding, tension with family that you don't fully know how to address. And then the second part, from January 6th until February 23rd, when there is a retrograde in your 3rd house, there might be some scheduling issues, some miscommunications, maybe, car breaks down or some other kind of like logistical matters that you need to solve. And of course, the 2 can also be put together. And if we're talking about some kind of frustration, delays in the home, or frustrations involving family, and then the retrograde moves into the 3rd, you're looking at how you're communicating. You're looking at like, okay, things feel frustrating with a family, but are you saying everything that needs to be said? Are you honest? Are you patient and clear in your communication? Or are you not expressing things? Or are you being too forceful, right? Like, where do you need to examine how you speak? There might be opportunities with Mars retrograding in the 3rd house to not just clear your communication, but also examine your schedule, examine your approach to things. 3rd house is very logistical. So maybe there's a chance to kind of reprioritize and figure out what's worth investing into and what is not. And if we're talking about home frustrations involving moving or renovation, right? The retrograde going into your 3rd house is, which calls do you need to make? Who do you need to talk to? Maybe you need to hire more help, right? It's like, how can you use your skills, your knowledge, your communication to the best possible way to streamline your life and make things and communication easier. Have a good retrograde, and if you're having issues or you have concerns, you want to know what 2025 has in store for you, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. My year ahead reading is currently discounted, so you can take advantage of that and save. If you are a Gemini rising, Mars is retrograding from your 3rd into your 2nd houses. And the first half of the retrograde, between December 6th and January 6th, you're maybe dealing with some misunderstandings with neighbors, some disconnect with siblings. Maybe you're relying on your sister to help you manage the care of your parents, and your sister is too caught up in her own drama, right? Sometimes Mars retrograde can be reflective of like siblings going through some kind of drama or having a bit more difficult time. You may struggle communicating. You may deal with some kind of business delays, maybe logistical issues like, technology breaking down or trains no longer running, some type of frustration in your everyday environment. Honestly, it could be something as like benign as the pastry you like being taken off the menu for a couple of weeks, and you're like, and you're just so frustrated. You're like, can things get any worse? And then you get in a fight with your barista or something. So it might be an opportunity to, like, you know, examine what is it truly that is frustrating you, and not take it out on people that are around you, because if there are any kind of challenging exchanges and explosive interactions, this could be more about what's happening within you instead of what's happening around you. And then from January 6th until February 23rd, the retrograde will shift into your second house, which is more about money and values. And so here you may be dealing with financial matters, maybe a cost comes up, something you need to invest into that you weren't prepared for. So having to be more careful and thoughtful with money is recommended here, consulting people, asking for help, and postponing any big investments, because things might turn around when Mars goes retrograde. And if we unite these two, if we think of, you know, because for some of you it might be one theme that is represented by these two houses, I think we're looking at how can you best use your schedule, how can you maximize your time, how can you apply your knowledge and your skills to be most fulfilled and to be most successful. Because we're taking Mars from the third house, and you're maybe feeling dissatisfied with your everyday life, or you're feeling like your knowledge is not getting the best visibility or the best expression. You're feeling somehow like you can't fully communicate maybe as you would like, and then it goes into the second house, making you question your priorities and making you maybe rethink some of the, you know, some of your time and how you spend it. So could be a very introspective retrograde in that way. And if you're already feeling it, please share down below and take advantage of my year ahead special. You can currently save $20 on the in-person consultation or $40 on the recorded one. Information is down below. Find out what the year ahead has in store for you at anastasiadoesastrology.com. For the lovely Cancer rising, Mars retrograde is moving from your second into the first houses. And here you may start the retrograde by dealing with financial matters. Somehow you feel like maybe you're not maximizing your resources. You're maybe feeling like you're waiting for a payment, or you're waiting for a raise and it's just not coming. You're maybe running into a situation at this time that requires you to spend money, and you've had a plan for the money. You've been planning to move maybe, and suddenly the retrograde requires you to put money elsewhere. Mars does rule your 5th and 10th houses, so maybe it's like your child needing braces and so suddenly you have to spend on that. But also you're like, I think you're asking yourself whether you feel valued, especially because it's Mars in Leo. You're wondering, do you feel appreciated at work, in your relationship? Are you happy in your life? And how can you make things better? And then from January 6th until February 23rd, the retrograde shifts into your first house. And this could suggest a period in which you are examining your health. You're maybe continuing to evaluate your priorities. Mars retrograde in the first house can feel like there's a lot on your shoulders. Like it's almost like you're the only one trying to get through things and having to clear the air, having to deal with a lot of burdens. And so the connection between the second and the first house is very interesting, because I think it's asking you to figure out what a priority is for you. And the shift into the first might remind you that your well-being and your health should be your top priority, because if you don't take care of yourself, then nothing else falls into place. So the retrograde, the second half of it in the first house, might be the time when you feel a little stuck and you feel unsure, and you're dealing with these matters that you would rather not deal with. But it is meant to empower you. It is meant to help you understand your priorities and kind of get closer to your ultimate goals. If you're looking for personal guidance, book a year ahead reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. You can also get a relationship or a natal chart reading, but the year ahead one is currently discounted. You can save $20 on the in-person consultation or $40 on the recorded option. Moving on to the lovely, shiny Leo rising. For you, the retrograde is shifting from the 1st into the 12th house. So it begins in your 1st house, the first month, December 6th until January 6th. And you are dealing with opposition. Maybe you took a bunch of action in November and now things slow down. You felt clear about who you are. You've been ready to go back to school, to build a pool, to change your style, and now you're no longer sure. A health issue might present itself. Don't worry, it doesn't need to be like something scary, but maybe it's just like an opportunity to slow down and to examine how well you take care of yourself. And Mars retrograde in the 1st house might be the time when you're just dealing with a lot of emotions. And some frustrations might be coming from your relationship sector, as Mars opposes Pluto on January 3rd, 4 days before, 4 days after. But something, you're not feeling as clear. And then when Mars retrogrades into your 12th house between January 6th and February 23rd, the retrograde will be in the 12th, you are getting to examine, you're sort of closing the door on the noise of the outside world and you're going within, having to examine your self-defeating tendencies, maybe releasing some bad habits, understanding, being kind of, thoughtful and asking whether things slowing down and, you're not getting where you're trying to go because you are doubting yourself or you're second guessing yourself. And it could be an opportunity to maybe find support in spirituality. Lean into yoga, lean into Reiki, tarot, maybe get in touch with your healing energy, and that can also inspire you to get closer with your true goals, I think. So both opportunity to like clear the weeds, like clear the garden of your psyche, and also perhaps a chance to reconnect with what truly makes you happy when no one's watching. If you're looking for more guidance, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. I am currently running a year ahead special, and you can save $20 on the in-person consultation or $40 on the recorded one. More information in the description. For the lovely Virgo rising, Mars retrograde starts in your 12th house and then shifts into your 11th house. And this one is interesting because here we're looking at the connection between your self-defeating tendencies, between your self-doubt, and your dreams. And so the first part of the retrograde, the first month from December 6th until January 6th, it's in your 12th house. And you are maybe having to battle your ghosts, your fears, your doubts, your kind of sense of not being enough, right? Leo being your 12th house, you're having to deal with this sense of like, as a Virgo rising too, you're dealing with this sense of like, maybe I don't deserve to be in the spotlight, right? Like there might be a lot of like inner blockages and frustrations you have to address. And the retrograde in the 12th house could be like a good time to tap into spirituality, connect with a therapist, pray, meditate, eat, pray, love, all of that kind of stuff. Turning attention inward and asking yourself what is truly important. And of course, getting rid of these self-doubts. And then as Mars is retrograding in your 11th house, it could be a different storyline. It could be about examining your friendships, maybe dealing with some social media trolls, maybe dealing with some friendship frustration, some kind of passive-aggressive energy with your friends or people in your network, maybe acting in suspicious ways, like being jealous of you, not showing up for you. And so Mars retrograde may create this sense of discomfort with people around you where you have to address things. But if we're connecting these two houses, I also wonder if there's a way for you to get rid of self-doubt so that you can get closer to your dreams, and so that you can allow yourself to dream big, and you can allow yourself to envision the best future for yourself, right? That first half of the retrograde, when you're spending time being introspective, it will encourage you to ask important questions, I think, too, in terms of like which friends are worth being friends with, which dreams are worth pursuing, and which kind of pursuits make you shine, right? Make you be the best version of yourself, because it could be like both about social responsibility you have and also your desire to be visible, and those two don't need to contradict one another. If you're looking for personal guidance, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. My year ahead readings are currently discounted, and also highly recommend you pick up my Mars Cazimi candle to deal with the more challenging effect of the Mercury retrograde. Mars retrograde. Mercury is also retrograde right now, but we're talking about Mars. For the beautiful Libra rising, Mars begins its retrograde in your 11th house, which might present challenges, misunderstandings, frustrations involving your friendships, your networks, your hopes and dreams, right? So with friends or on social media, you may encounter a little bit more opposition, maybe not direct. A friend says something and you're like, are you in my corner? Are you an ally, or are you a foe? Or you're dealing with a little bit more, negative press in terms of social media comments, and you're having to figure out how to deal with it. Or you're dealing with a sense of opposition. Maybe you're realizing that your dream project is not being approved by other people. And so 11th house also represents your dreams, or maybe some of your dreams are you need to rethink them, right? Leo is your 11th house. It's the house of dreams. It's the house of connections, and maybe something that used to seem like really shiny and exciting no longer feels shiny and exciting, and so you have to review that. And then Mars retrogrades into your 10th house, and so here you're starting to look at your career, right? So if we're talking about first social media and then career, maybe you're rethinking your social media strategy. Maybe that sort of sense of like dissatisfaction when you're with your network is also making you examine, how can you network better? Who do you need to connect with? Who's more supportive in terms of advancing your career? There may be misunderstandings with bosses. There may be some kind of turnbacks and turnarounds professionally. There might be a sense of dissatisfaction with what you're doing and a need to figure out a new approach, right? I would recommend you look back and you ask yourself what inspired you to do what you do in the first place, right? What was your goal, and whether you are still on the path you envisioned for yourself, or maybe you strayed in the direction of money or fame, whatever it is, you may have lost yourself. And so the retrograde in the 10th house and whatever delays and twists and turns and conflicts it may bring, as well as the 11th house, it's meant to encourage you to once again examine what first inspired you, and then ask yourself who is supportive of this, who can also maybe connect you with, or inspire you, or connect you, or provide resources necessary for reaching your dreams. So it's like an opportunity to both rethink your motivation and then rethink the world you build, including people that are in it. If you're looking for more guidance, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. My year ahead consultations are currently discounted. You can save $20 on the in-person consultation with a coupon code down there, or $40 by getting a recorded reading. Check out my website for that and pick up a Mars Cazimi candle, perfect for any disagreements, can make you more strategic, more courageous, and it will allow you to express and assert yourself in healthy ways. If you are a Scorpio rising, Mars is retrograding from your 10th into the 9th house. And here you're dealing with some kind of professional shuffling, professional adjustment, right? You have been moving direct. You may have been exploring a new job, making plans to relocate for a job, getting interviewed for a new position, and then Mars goes retrograde and the interview process slows down. Or your new job becomes too difficult, or you're dealing with some kind of confusing interactions with bosses. You know, like whatever progress you've been making might slow down. There might be a need to kind of rethink things and maybe even turn around and redo some of the stuff. And there's also a chance that the way you have been working on things, whether it is professionally or personally, sort of your strategy, maybe is not quite working out, and so you need to examine it. And Mars retrograde in the 10th house can also be about authority figures. So it could be about bosses, but it can also be about parents or teachers or whoever you hold in high regard, perhaps. And so needing to reevaluate your relationships with these people, needing to also maybe backtrack and ask yourself what inspired you, what kind of goals you had in the beginning, and whether you are, you know, moving closer to them or moving further away from them is a big question here. And then as the retrograde shifts into your 9th house, you may be dealing with issues involving travel, education, maybe some kind of legal matters, visas slows down, trip delays, miscommunications with foreign people. But it can also be the time that when your professional path or professional confusion requires you to look at travel, to look at going back to school, look at becoming a lawyer, look at becoming a writer. There might be something you need to rewrite, some exams you need to retake, right? Or exams you need to take in order to make your career better. There might also be a chance with the 9th house retrograde to ask yourself whether your job right now is aligned with your emotions, with your kind of desires and your goals and your morals, right? There might be a lot of these kind of more philosophical questions. And I think, and a need to take more responsibility for the path that you're on, because it might feel like you're having to adjust your professional and personal path. And so a certain like shift in ideology, a change in your knowledge might be required in order to get you closer to where you're trying to go. Please share how this resonates, and if you're looking for more guidance, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. I am currently running a sale on my year ahead readings. Check out the information down below and pick up my Mars Cazimi candle. This is perfect during the retrograde, and it captures Mars in Scorpio, which is your rising sign, so it can be extra potent and helpful for you. For the lovely Sagittarius rising, the retrograde begins in your 9th house and shifts into your 8th. And we can look at like these two houses separately. So maybe the retrograde in the 9th house is the time, the first month is you dealing with some kind of legal matters, right? You're applied for a visa, your application gets pushed back and you have to redo it. Or you have to rewrite something. Or your teacher is being extra frustrating. You thought you were done, but now you have to like take another class or something. And then the second half of the retrograde in your 8th house from January 6th until February 23rd may bring up some financial matters that you need to deal with. Maybe your mortgage rate is out of control, or you forgot about an insurance payment, or you're navigating some kind of disagreements with your partner, needing to talk about, you know, who pays for what, whether things feel fair. And that could be your romantic partner, or that could be your business partner. Even talking to your boss about whether your compensation is fair or not is likely here. But we can also connect those two houses and think that the retrograde starting in the 9th going into the 8th might require you to apply for a scholarship as you're trying to go to college. It might require you to pay off some debts as you are attempting to move to another country, right? It's almost like things in the ninth house slow down because eighth house is not completely clear. And eighth house is all of our like dependencies, and both psychological dependencies, karmic connections, debts we're carrying over that are holding us back. So with Mars in the ninth house in November, maybe you felt ready to travel. Maybe you've been ready to start writing or publish your work, right? Or you've been excited about going back to school, and then it's like Mars slows down. It's like, no, you can't get there yet because there are these negotiations you still have to do with yourself. Maybe you have to heal yourself and begin believing in yourself. Or maybe, like I said, maybe, you know, your partner is not ready to let you go back to school and you need to talk to them. Maybe there are debts you haven't paid off. Maybe there are some other kind of, you know, like your parents depending on you and you don't have as much freedom as you might like. So having to go into this place of discomfort and talk about things that you might not want to talk about in order to allow yourself to go on adventures, allow yourself to travel, allow yourself to reach for the stars. But first, deal with some uncomfortable conversations. I highly recommend picking up my Exalted Mars candle. It can help you navigate difficulty with more ease. And book a reading at Anastasia.astrology.com. My year ahead readings are currently discounted. You can save $20 on the in-person consultation or $40 on the recorded reading. For the lovely Capricorn rising, Mars is retrograding from your 8th house into the 7th. And here we're connecting two houses of relationships. 8th house is debts, loans, taxes, partners, resources, shared resources, how you give and take, you know, how you pay for things together with your partner, how you handle maybe family. Are you a team or are you not a team, right? How do you feel about your professional compensation? So 8th house Mars retrograde will bring up maybe some kind of tense conversations about money. There might be some kind of, you know, insurance, mortgage payments that you have forgotten about and you now need to deal with. There might be difficult conversations involving partners' resources or partners' vision of the future, right? Like you may need to be honest about, are you and your partner agreeing? Are you on the same page? Do you see the world in the same way? And then as Mars retrogrades into your 7th house between January 6th and February 23rd, it highlights your house of relationships. And I think it's very much like first you need to clear the debts, clear the air, and then you can start a business, or you can start a new partnership, or you can start a new chapter of your relationship. But it might suggest that, you know, this retrograde brings up some kind of relationship misunderstandings, miscommunications, and very much connected to money or connected to vision of the future, connected to the baggage you're bringing into the relationship or the partnership. And you know, those two can also be very separate issues. Maybe the first month you're dealing with paying off debts, and then from January 6th until February 23rd, you're having to address some kind of romantic disagreements or old fights come back into your life. But I feel like, to me, this feels very connected. I think it's like, once again, being honest, being direct, making sure you're patient but clear, and learning to deal with conflict, learning to express yourself, learning to not sweep issues under the rug, but actually discuss things and bring them out in the air so that you can have a more fair relationship professionally, personally, in your family, with your mortgage broker, whatever it is. Please share how this resonates, and if you're looking for personal guidance, book a reading at Anastasia.astrology.com. My year ahead readings are currently discounted, and I would highly recommend my Exalted Mars candle for you guys, because this is Mars in Capricorn. What better candle can there be for you, Capricorn risings, than Mars in Capricorn? If you are an Aquarius rising, Mars is retrograding from your 7th house into the 6th. And we can look at it as two separate topics. first month, maybe you're dealing with some business disagreements, romantic disagreements, maybe revisiting old fights in a relationship or dealing with exes. And then from January 6th until February 23rd, there could be some health matters or some problem solving at work. Maybe some kind of project you've been working on slows down, gets delayed, and you have to navigate things, deal with different colleagues, facilitate different departments, and it feels extra frustrating. Or we can look at these two houses as intertwined, right? Seventh house represents relationships, sixth house represents sacrifice. And so when Mars is retrograding from the 7th into the 6th, it might suggest that you're having to examine these give and take dynamics in a relationship, these like sacrificial energy, right? Like, are you giving up too much? Is there some kind of unfairness in your relationship that needs to be addressed? Is there like a logistical thing in a relationship, like who takes care of the laundry, who washes the dishes, who takes kids to the kindergarten? Like, there might be some type of mundane things in your relationship that need to be restructured, that need to be addressed, that could actually create a lot of discord and discontent, right? Because sometimes if you live with someone, it could be like a very mundane thing. They throw their socks on the ground, right? Let's put the stereotype out there. Or like they like to do the dishes at the end of the day and you like to do it after every meal. So having to address these conversations around like everyday life and figure out better structures, both with your romantic partner or with your business associate or even with your colleague, I think will be crucial for building healthier relationships. Please share how this resonates, and if you're looking for more, book a reading at anastasia.astrology.com. My year ahead readings are currently discounted, and I would also highly recommend you pick up my Mars Kazemi candle. This highlights your 10th house of career and can help you find courage, dedication, perseverance, start projects, and know how to reach success in the most strategic, fast way. Finally, if you are a Pisces rising, Mars is retrograding from your 6th house into the 5th house. And I'm thinking of this as like, what do you need to do? Which problems do you need to solve, right? Like, maybe you need to take care of your health. Maybe there is some kind of like, a renovation project you're doing or a legal matter you're involved in. Maybe there is some type of like, some type of work situation that you're like dealing with, some kind of like battles here. I'm just gonna get myself warm. Some type of like mundane routine things that are frustrating you and taking away the pleasure, that they're sucking the joy out of your life, right? Like Mars retrograde in the 6th house might suggest that your work requires restructuring, that you need to put better boundaries, that maybe there are work situations and conversations with bosses or colleagues that are draining you, right? Like some kind of professional engagement, like you're CC'd on all the emails and they're like just looking at them gets your blood sort of heats your blood up and you like want to scream. So there might be a need to like examine how you handle things, how you handle stress, how you take care of yourself. And then as Mars retrogrades into your 5th house, you may understand that affects your joy, that affects your relationship, that even affects your sex drive, right? Because Mars retrograde in the 5th might suggest that you don't even feel you have energy to have sex with your partner, right? Or you're just so stressed that it's hard to relax and be in the moment for you. Or, there might be a need to handle projects or like figure out work so that you can allow yourself to paint again or dance again. So there might be a very kind of direct connection between your work stress and your pleasure, your work kind of, or even health issues and your romantic life. So having to sort through these things, prioritize self-care, Set maybe better routines for yourself, see a doctor, start exercising, start eating better so that you can build more joy. And watch out for dealing with exes, because around this time you might also have an ex or two show up in your life. Share how this resonates, and if you're curious to know more, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. My year ahead readings are discounted until the end of January. You can save $20 on the in-person consultation or $40 on the recorded reading. The information is down below. Recorded reading is in the shop. And thank you for watching. Don't be afraid of Mars retrograde. We've survived them. You know, if you've been alive. If you've been alive for 20 years, you've already survived 10 of them. So you can divide your age by 2 and you'll tell how many Mars retrogrades you've been through. So just be patient and be ready for things to be a bit more frustrating. And if you are aware, you're more prepared. So have fun with it. And I'll be here to offer you guidance and talk to you. So I'll see you soon. Bye.